Hey, how you doing? This is Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House over in Japan. Are you good? Are you Genki? Have you got your cup of coffee? Is that coffee? Do you say coffee over there? I can't wait to talk about this film. This is a 1973. Fantastic year, by the way. Somebody very special was born on that in that year. 1973 movie directed by Robert Altman. Probably most famous to modern viewers for what? For The Player? Or maybe not. Forget about that. That's completely obscure, isn't it? He's got a very individual style, shall we say, his directing style, and he took on the classic, is it Raymond Chandler novel, The Long Goodbye, with Philip Marlowe, P.I. Philip Marlowe, and he chose he made a very interesting choice for his lead, let's just say that. But before I go too long into my wakizashi waffle, let me bring in the guests we have today. First of all, returning for the third week running, I think it is, it's Mr. Stephen Ransom.
Hello!
How are you, Stephen?
Very good, very good. Bringing you a live opinion from the actual city that this movie was filmed in. So yeah, I've been to actually a bunch of the locations in this movie. I can't wait to get started. Let's do this. Let's do it.
And you sent me a wonderful photo, a modern photo, of is it the elevator? We say lift in Britain. The elevator that he uses that movie. Is it an apartment? No, is it a penthouse or something? Is it a house?
Well, there's two houses up on the bluff, and the elevator is the only thing attaching the ground where there's parking to the actual houses.
Okay,
so that's it.
Wow.
And it actually appears. There's an episode of Outer Limits, the one where the radio guy gets in touch with a being from beyond. Are you familiar with that episode? That's actually, they filmed that episode. His radio operation is right there at that same exact street location. He goes into that. It's just Hollywood is chock full of those kind of nuts. It's crazy. So yeah, you'll see. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
I can't wait to get your take, Stephen. I know we've been dying to talk about it, haven't we? In the green room in the studio.
Oh, as soon as you mentioned it too, when you showed me the poster, I was like, woo-hoo-hoo, let's do this.
Speaking of the Outer Limits, I've got a very special guest coming all the way from where's he from? Third planet from the sun? No, I'm not sure. It is the long Nerdporeal himself. How are you?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me. I actually on Wednesday I watched this movie and I noticed that it was on I saw it on streaming for the first time, and then you said this is going to be the movie to watch. So I was like, you know what? I'll give this a watch, and I'm not very particularly well versed on Robert Altman films, so this was this one took some getting used to, I'll say. I mean, I was kind of expecting more, based on the poster. So nope, but that's Clint Eastwood. But this this is very interesting, a very interesting private eye movie that I mean. I compared it right away to Chinatown, and Chinatown didn't come out at this point, so it had the same tropes type of situations and everything. And let's just say it had a very interesting payoff at the end.
This is true. I can't wait to get into this. Just let me shout out briefly the chat. We've got a great chat here. I reckon it's all Stephen and Nerdporeal's pulling power. We have Magitate Mags is here. Stephen Ransom, of course. Nosferatu the Vampire. Great to see you, mate. And you're a member again. I love you. Dempsey's here. We got Zombie Box Reviews in the chat. Hey, man, how you doing? Long time no see. Jacob Ironside is here too, and Daniel cracking a joke. The nerve of Nerdporeal to actually watch something before talking about it. This is true. Let's see, if I've missed you, I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Also had your Barmy or your Reb Army is here before, and some crazy dude called Wakizashi's Tea House. Don't know what he's on about. So. This, as a movie, Stephen Nerdporeal, I've got a bit of a hot take, and this is from my parents. I remember watching it years ago with them, okay, and my father's first comment was, why is this guy mumbling everything? Who is this? He knows who Elliot Gould is, but he couldn't stand him as Philip. Is it Philip Marlowe? P.I. Philip Marlowe. So what's your take on his performance? Stephen, let's start with you.
Well, there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek thing going on right here. Robert Altman and Elliot Gould came to the decision almost separately but simultaneously that he's Rumpelstiltskin. And the scene where he wakes up at the beginning of the film is him entering the present day, which happens to be 1973. And then the film proceeds as a detective novel, but the world has moved on beyond his knowledge. So all of his mumbling is him narrating to himself. Normally that would be narration off the camera, but he's mumbling.
Yes.
So that's what's going on with his performance. He's a man out of time. He's Buck Rogers. He's Captain America. That's why he's driving the old car. He's always smoking. He's still playing the tough guy in the 40s, but it's 1973 and nobody cares.
This movie made me want to smoke as well, by the way. It does, but I tell you what, he does look like he's enjoying it. I don't know if it's the actor, Elliot Gould, or not. He doesn't look like a smoker in this.
He's holding the
how
cigarette.
about you? What's
He's
he
holding
think?
the cigarette in the side of his mouth almost the entire scene. I'm like, that is impressive. That is impressive. And he's talking with the thing in his mouth. I wonder how many takes it took, because I'm sure he must have spit. He must have dropped it a few times, when they were shooting this. So, but yeah, like it's a very interesting take. Like he's pretty stalwart. Like he'll help his friends, but he won't cooperate. Like beginning of this movie, he won't cooperate with the police because they're looking for his friend, the one that he helps, take to was it Tijuana, I believe. So I'm assuming I'm assuming he's either in San Diego or LA. I'm assuming LA.
And as far as the film is concerned, I just re-listened to the audiobook for this morning, and there's a whole scene of the guy getting to know Marlowe. There's a whole scene cut out, basically, where there's several adventures where he keeps bumping into him, being in trouble and getting drunk, and he always rescues him. So when we see him for the first time in the film, it's actually the third or fourth time we've seen him in the novel. So there's more relationship foundation in the novel before this. But he's reading a script that takes place in the novel, and the movie is reading a script that was written in 1973. That's the fun stuff. That's why the movie feels so weird. That's the art take of like the 1973 films.
And it's interesting. Robert Altman, I was reading this about Robert Altman was like, he didn't give a shit about how purists, how those who are really, really big on, the novel, the source material.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Like this is a very different adaptation. This is not a faithful adaptation. It's very, how would I say it? A lot of artistic license was taken here.
Yeah, he's commenting on the novel itself from 1973. He's having a hot take on the detective novel. This is before David Lynch. This is where David Lynch gets his ideas from. It's the same thing. It's just like we were talking about last week, Gray. So, yeah, it's great. And the image is blown out on purpose. It was to kind of flatten the world out.
I tell you, his performance for me, like I really appreciate it this time because I watched it, I say, much younger, and the age when you're still impressionable to whatever your parents are saying. Now I can understand why my dad didn't like it. He had this image of the tough talking, hard edge PI, the strong drinker, smoking all the time, like narrating the story. And you got Elliot Gould kind of half bumbling his way through it. But I think that's Robert Altman, isn't it? Robert Altman's deliberate choice to have him play it like that, to direct him like that.
I think so. I mean, the beginning of this movie, like he's not just mumbling, but he's mumbling and he's going out for cat food. He's just going out and buying cat food. It's just something so like ridiculous like that. Just getting up and like his neighbors are all like high on drugs and I don't think they're wearing anything. So
nope.
they're like so you get to see some
topless,
some
topless,
most
of the time.
So
but the way he ignores that is brilliant. I think that's part of the the story. It's so funny. He's just like, hey girls, how you doing? He'll run errands for them. He'll help them out. He's asking them, have you seen my cat? But every other character who sees them, they're kind of like, they do a double take. They're like, what's going on with these girls over here?
Yeah, that's funny. And then you get like, they're like asking, can you get us some coffee or can you get us something from the store? He's like, well, what do you want? Get us this. Okay, I'll get it for you. It's just very, 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 very chill. Yeah, right here.
Mm-hmm.
And look at how they have a traffic light up there. I'm like, what
I
is
know,
this?
it's great. You know, it's not too far off from what was really going down in 1973, by the way. It's like the whole world you're seeing in this film, it's not really that far off. It's not trying to be artsy or anything. It only looks artsy because we're Philip Marlowe.
Maybe it's one of those. I think in what was it? The beginning of the Cool Hand Luke, Paul Newman's cutting off those light posts or something. Maybe it's one of those. Maybe they bought it. Maybe they got one from Paul Newman before he went to jail as Cool Hand Luke.
That's really funny. I heard a reviewer comment that you could consider this movie to be a prequel to The Big Lebowski.
Oh, wow.
Because it's speaking in the same voice, which
That's
I thought was
take.
a really great take. I'm
The
like,
dude,
wow, that really opens
Marlowe
up
and the
whole...
dude. It's the same.
Yeah,
okay,
as like
I kind of see it now.
This is 20 years before, but it's taking place in the same city. The city hasn't changed. It's just another story later on down the line. It's a hot take, but it makes the film more comfortable. It's like, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, yeah,
because doesn't
he gets
the
roughed
Big
up.
Lebowski gets roughed up by the Malibu police in the same way that he does?
Yeah, and then two guys like one guy pees on his rug, and he goes wants a new rug, and
yep,
and then his
They
life
really held the room together, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
That's a great take, and oh my god, we've got to cover that one day. That's one of my favourite movies. I think many people love it. Jeff Bridges is amazing. Well, everybody's amazing in that. Sam Elliott.
Yeah, John Goodman bites a dude's ear off and throws chucks a bowling ball at a nihilist.
Yep. Is it John Turturro, his Jesus part, the bowl? Oh my god, I was crying. I was on the floor crying with that scene when I first saw it. It was so funny.
Oof, that bodysuit. I mean, wow, man, that jumpsuit he was wearing. Wow.
But anyway, sorry, we're here to talk about, aren't we, the long
That's
goodbyes.
right.
So let's try and keep focus on that. But oh my god, that's a great take, Stephen. I never even thought of it. So you both enjoyed his performance. You liked the way Elliot Gould was going for the bumbling, humbling, stumbling kind of PI.
Yeah, he had agency. I mean, that's one of the things I was looking for, because nowadays a lot of characters in current entertainment lack this thing called agency.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And even though he was mumbling and stuff, he still had some agency. He wasn't willing. He wasn't going to go along with the police. He kept getting roughed up, and he took it. He took it.
The world in this kind of storytelling never looks at the camera tongue in cheek. That never happens in this movie. The world takes itself very seriously, as silly as it gets sometimes. Like, I don't know, the toll booth operator at that colony in Malibu that's like always doing imitations for whoever passes by. It's like he's just a caricature, but he's totally legit. He totally believes it, and the universe totally believes it. He's not a lark. He's a legit piece of the universe.
Yeah, you got movie nerds then too, imitating actors, because back then actors were the shit. You went to a movie to see a particular actor. Now, who gives a shit about like young actors? Like, I've heard this, young actors. You don't see a movie about young actors. There's no iconic roles. All the iconic roles are they're bringing back people in their 80s, 70s, and 80s to play roles that made them famous 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, just stop with that bullshit and come up with new stories and give younger people in my generation and, Zoomers and create some iconic new roles.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, guys, the screenplay was by Leigh Brackett. Now, she was famous as a science fiction author. She wrote she helped with the script of Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the original. She was the original. She wrote the original screenplay, and then she passed away. And then they had Lawrence Kasdan rewrite it.
She's done some great kind of pulp fantasy, a bit like John Carter and Mars style books, which are worth seeking out. The Hounds of Skaith, I think it is. If you look for those, but yeah. It's interesting that the screenplay is by her, but it's based on Chandler. Stephen, did you get the real pulp noir feeling with the kind of, at the time, modern setting, the 1970s? Did you think it worked? Did it?
No, absolutely. No, it absolutely worked. Because, I mean, I've said this before. The Chandler novels are closer to a reality. They're more like The French Connection in a lot of ways, more like the detective stories in Hollywood from like the late 60s and early 70s. So it's legit. It plays it out really real, in much the same way that what's that Al Pacino detective movie where he's basically doing like a docudrama, and
Is it
then
Serpico?
there's right, and then there's Dog Day Afternoon as well.
Oh God, yeah.
That
Yeah.
same exact feel is in this movie. So yeah, I totally, because all noir is trying to do is to be legitimate. Like, we're not messing around, okay? This ain't no romance novel like your grandma would read. This is a detective story. You know, that's why they called it
Hard-boiled.
hard boiled. Right, exactly. So this plays it off. Like I said, the world is legit. The world is legitimately dangerous in this story. Nobody's messing around.
Yeah, especially that gangster dude. What the hell was his name again? Augustine.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
my God.
dude, like the thing he did to his, I don't know if it was wife or girlfriend.
His girlfriend.
I was just like, I was horrified. I'm like, yeah, like you said, Steven, like this is not. I mean, that
Nobody-
I took that scene very seriously. I
That's
felt
right.
something.
Because
Yeah,
there's
it's
not a lot of
almost
action in
like-
this movie, that
Yeah.
shocks you. It really lands, doesn't it, Stephen? Sorry, because there's not much in it. When that moment, we're not going to spoil it, but there's a real like shocking moment involving that character. This is like, wow.
He
Go for
punishes
it.
this woman to get to Marlowe,
Right.
which is so messed up. But dude,
Yeah.
I mean that I would it would taken me.
It was
Well,
horrible.
how about
scene.
the houseboy at the old man's house, right? Like the Spanish helping guy, like just being a total threat the whole time, and it's for the pettiest reasons. And that's straight out of Chandler's novel. That's almost unchanged word for word. That character is just like that in the 1940 novel. So yeah, there's a lot in here, Gray. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is a bona fide noir. It's just blown out. He did the blowout. Like, the image is always really gray
Yeah.
looking because there's so much light in the image. He did that on purpose because it was to create a noir. It was like almost like a reverse noir on purpose to flatten it out like a noir would do.
Boom! It hasn't come out. Well, this is what happens. And it's so dark in that scene, isn't it? Jesus.
Yeah. It's like, are you paying attention, audience? You paying attention, audience?
It's fun. You know what's funny about these private eye things? I've only seen a few, but it seems like they always start with someone missing. Like the private eye has to track somebody. So in this case, Marlowe is tracking this woman's husband. I think it was a writer, and he finds him at a clinic, I believe. And the clinic is ran by Henry Gibson, of all people. Little Henry Gibson. Before he was
Is that who it was?
before he was an Illinois Nazi, and before he was a bird in the Burbs, he was in this movie as a quack psychologist, I believe. And what's funny is the guy that the husband is the cop from The Godfather. That's Sterling Hayden. So, and like
Right.
big dude, he's like big dude, 6'4", and he's like towering over everybody, and he's towering especially over Henry Gibson. But Henry Gibson completely just bitch slapped him. That was the last time we see him. He bitch slaps Sterling Hayden at his own on his own property, saying, "You owe me money, bitch."
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
There's something I wanted to mention too. I keep forgetting the guy's name every time. I got to keep reminding myself. But Robert Altman and Paul Thomas Anderson
Oh yeah.
were very good friends, and Paul has gone on record saying that Robert Altman basically gave birth to his style. So there's a lot of earmarks in this, and one of the parallels is this character, the doctor, and the pathetic guy who murders his wife in Fargo. That they're similar characters. They're really, really meek little characters, but they can stand up when they need to. And he actually makes an appearance in Fargo, chastising the main character for being such a wuss. So he's still playing the doctor in that universe. He's just sitting at a bar at that point in the film. But yeah, there's this is a legit important film that needs to be recognized. It's one of those oldies but goodies that just wound up behind a better film that came out in the cinema at the same time, and that's how it got overlooked. But
yeah, I honestly, I've never heard of this film until I saw it recently, and then Gray, you said you were covering it, so that's what, like I said earlier, that's what got me to watch this in the first place. So Thanks, thanks, Gray. Thanks, Gray, for the incentive right there.
No, and there are some real beauties in here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the ingenues in the film are just woohoo.
Oh yeah. You had what was the wife's name? I forgot that actress. The wife of Sterling Hayden. You had her. You had the wife of Augustine. I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend. Smashes a Coke bottle on her face, and she's screaming in pain, and you feel it. What they showed. Sorry, you feel that. You feel that. I wish. I mean, if something makes me feel, if a scene makes me feel, I feel that the director did a good job putting in the work, putting in everything that was needed to get a reaction out of the viewer. Because it takes work. It takes a lot of creativity to do that. So
yeah, it's that thing we call tension that we say is this is why you don't do a prequel. This is why you don't do Andor, because there's no tension. There's no tension. How are you supposed to build up tension?
You're right.
Yeah,
you know,
I felt too.
And that's what film is all about. It's stacking all of these images so that when the next one appears, you're just like, whoa, what the heck just happened, man? And then, yeah.
I don't have a good image of her. It's the actress is called Nina Van Pallant. Nina Van Pallant. There we go.
Oof.
She looks like she wants to buy me
Danish retired singer and
actress. Right. Right. Yeah, or sell you hair products made with Apple. You know.
1970s I wasn't alive in this decade. That's all I'll say.
This is what 90% of my teachers in elementary school looked like, and forget it. All the commercials on TV.
So, guys, one more thing we can talk about is the theme. You know, the long goodbye. There's a song, and it keeps playing off and on throughout the movie, and it's played by different people. It's sung by different people. I really like the way they did that. They kept used it as a connecting theme throughout the whole movie. What did you think of that little kind of piano song?
I don't actually remember it.
You don't hear the full thing. You just hear like tinkles here and there, and then like da 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 da, just a bit like that.
Is it the "Hooray for Hollywood," or is it?
No, that's at the end. That was. Let's have a look. Does it say in the wiki page? I'm not sure.
By the way, you know that John Williams did the. I think it's the same John Williams. John Williams did the music. Yep, John Williams did the music.
It is.
Right here, so
it's not Hooray for Hollywood. There's a different one. It's kind of, you never hear the full thing. You just hear like say little pieces of it, and it sounds like someone's made a song called "The Long Goodbye." That's all.
The Long Goodbye. That's the song is also called "The Long Goodbye," and it's played as music. It's played as a hippie chant, and it's according to this, it sets the mood for the hero's encounters with eccentric Californians as he's pursuing his case. So, but I thought it was interesting when he's at the bar and when he gets the initial phone call, he gets the phone call from the woman, looking for a job, and the dude's playing the piano. He's talking to the dude's playing the piano, and you're hearing that as he's on the phone and all that. I thought that was a very interesting way to bring the music to life.
Yeah, with the piano guy behind the bar. Yeah. There's actually a bar like that still to this day. I think it's somewhere in Los Feliz in Hollywood. I think it might be the same bar or something very similar to it that you see in Swingers.
Oh, really?
Either you see the movie Swingers.
Another great movie. Jon Favreau.
That's the one with the creator of The Mandalorian, right? Jon Favreau.
Yep.
Haven't seen it.
But there's a
Doug Lyman.
There's a vibe
Steven?
to LA bars
Doug Liman.
that are very What's that?
The director was Doug Lyman, who went on to do the Bourne movies, the first few Bourne movies, the best ones, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of discoveries came out of that film. A lot of discoveries, a lot of young actor, a lot of young talent came up the ranks through that film.
Hail to Monkey Jeebus is here as well. Great to see you. As I say, Nosferatu's still here. Awesome one. Good to see you. And Leia Rose popped in for a bit. Nice one. I tell you, I really do recommend this because it's very different to what you imagine as a noir. Like Nerdporeal was talking about Chinatown. I'm trying to remember, was that set in the past or not? Is Chinatown 70s setting as well?
It's set in the 30s in L.A. water,
It is, isn't
water crisis. So yeah, Jack Nicholson's a 30s private eye, and what happens? Spoiler alert: gets his nose cut off by Roman Polanski himself, the director.
Polanski.
He must have did a really bad take to get his nostril cut off like that. So.
And that's actually based on the Mulholland story, which takes place almost 50 years prior to the 1930s. Mulholland built the current water and power system that LA survives on. And so that's who John, who the father's character is supposed to be representing, is old Mulholland. And this is so it's a mishmash of what time period it's supposed to be. It feels like a Western sometimes because it actually is about Mulholland, but it's also set in the 1930s because it's a noir. So it's kind of a mashup a little bit. In much the same way that Roger Rabbit is a bit of a mashup as well.
Yeah, I heard Red Letter Media when they were talking about Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that it borrowed a lot from Chinatown. Mm-hmm. And I never knew that. So now I have to rewatch Chinatown. And I have to rewatch Who Framed Roger Rabbit back to back to see this for myself now. So I've been meaning to do that, but now with talking about this, I might be more incentivized to do so.
Yeah, because you'll notice watching both of those films after watching this one that you'll see that LA Hollywood film detective character. You'll understand all the tropes a little bit better every time. That's why you got to watch these old films, new film people, is because every slide of the tide up and down that beach will relax your opinion on film in general into a much wiser position. This
50 years, Stephen. Think about it. It's 50 years old now. 73. That's scary. It's as old as me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I want to bring something up. I just want to share this briefly.
That was awesome. Magnum Force.
Go on.
1973 Magnum Force. A man's got to know his
Dirty Harry.
That's the one with the carousel in the beginning, right?
Yeah,
they're on the pier in Santa Monica or something like that.
Yeah, that was the one with the cops. That's the one with the vigilante cops, and I think so. Yeah. He's on the pier. He goes on the ship. As he's hiding from those police.
Was it the follow-up to Dirty Harry, or was it further down the line? I can't remember.
No, it was the second one. So the first one was about Dirty Harry being the vigilante.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the second one was in a way trying to redeem Dirty Harry by having him fight worse vigilante or real vigilantes. Yeah. He wasn't really a vigilante cop. He was fighting them. He was actually.
Oh, right. That's the one with all the police officers with the sun.
He's a police officer, but he's he does it his way, my way or the highway, baby, doesn't he?
Yeah. So the 70s. I mean, the 70s. When I think of 70s movies, I usually always assume that they never are going to end well for our hero.
Right.
So I was under the I saw the Parallax View last year, and I saw the Parallax View. And I kind of knew how that movie was going to end. And I was worried that this movie was going to end in an equivalent fashion. Luckily, this movie didn't have a
no spoilers,
ending.
By the way.
No spoilers.
No.
It didn't have a dark ending.
I was shocked by the ending. I didn't know that happened. I'd forgotten it completely. So I was happy to rewatch it. Anyway, guys, let me just share something. You two know this already because we've watched it. But this film stars, I think, for his first appearance. It's not a great photo, but Arnold's in this. Look at his arms.
Not only do you see him, but they all take off their pants in this scene. Sorry, spoiler. He takes off, and you see like they're in their whitey tighties, and you see Arnold's thing. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
You see a bulge, yeah, but look at this with his shirt off. I mean, this is before the modern Marvel movies, by the way, where only men are allowed to take their shirts off. Just saying. Look at the size of him. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he was, from what I read, he was like 240 pounds, and like he was in a movie with Jeff Bridges, and what Arnold said was that the director told him if he wanted to be in that movie, he had to lose 30 pounds. So he had to weigh approximately 210 pounds. In order to be in the movie, he had a month to do it. So I forget what the name of that movie was. It was like 76. But yeah, maybe someone
Hercules in New York. Do you remember that one? Was he in that?
No. Yeah, that was before this one. I think that was 1970. Yeah, and he's overdubbed by some other actor, and they called him instead of, they were worried that his name would be off-putting, so they called him Arnold Strong in the credits for that. But yeah, he's uncredited here, but it's clearly Arnold. And let me see if I have my sunglasses here.
He said he was going to let him go. I lied. Stephen, what did you think of this? Very 70s scene, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this is right around the time. This is how Arnold got into the whole Hollywood scene in the first place. Venice Beach in 1973 was a real deal, man. The Beach Boys were making it famous across the world, and yep.
Yes, it was. Look at Nerdporeal. He's making me feel intimidated. I feel like he's going to pull out his Magnum in a minute.
Did his camera freeze?
No. What was after this? Let me just see. Okay, things like this, guys. Again, I'm kind of all over the place, but I love this look at... Is this like an old ambulance? An American ambulance from the 70s?
Yeah. I think that's a Lincoln ambulance.
How cool.
Yeah. This is where the Ghostbusters version comes from, of an earlier version of this kind of American ambulance. It's a station wagon. Yep.
I thought the Ghostbusters was a hearse.
Yeah, it's but they were all built by the same kind of companies.
Oh, okay.
Same manufacturing companies. They just painted them and kitted them out. But boxes and back entrance with a hatch. This is where the hatchback comes from. This is where the minivan comes from. Before all those things was the supreme station wagon.
Don't you miss the shape, Stephen? Like the shape of the front of the grille of the car, things like that. And as you say, the hatchback. Oh man, it just takes us back, showing our age.
They're just it's imperialist. It's a very imperialist look.
Oh no!
I'm a sucker for it. I'm a sucker for a ground car. All these cars where it's like you're getting down out of the cab. It's I don't know. It's weird. Cars got weird. They just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like, we're going the wrong way, guys. We're going the wrong way.
Okay, so Nerdporeal was talking about this before. He was saying he was surprised by the lack of action in this movie. Nerdporeal, what did you think? Did you find it? Because there is a lot of talking, isn't there? There's a lot of banter, a lot of talking. It's that kind of script, I guess, that kind of movie. What did you think of it? Did you miss the Dirty Harry style action?
I mean, initially I was slightly disappointed, but that's just because of my very limited appreciation for private eye films, and so I kind of decided. I kind of thought, this is more like Chinatown. This is more more character based, and I think Elliot Gould did a really good job playing the role. I mean, he wasn't tough guy like Clint, but he still, I mean, like I said earlier, he still had a lot of agency. He still, he did the job well. He's really clever about what he did, and he was able to figure out the case ultimately. So I mean, so someone gets murdered, and he's trying to figure out who committed this murder, and that's why the police were roughing him up in the beginning of the movie, without going into too much detail. So, and he managed to, he just held his own against gangsters that, like, the dude took a Coke bottle and bashed his wife in the face with it. Like, I'd be terrified of the dude. And plus he had freaking Arnold as a lackey. Like, he was yelling at Arnold. Arnold was obeying him. Like, that's how tough this Augustine dude was.
Right.
And all this Augustine dude wanted was money from the same guy that like the entire movie is centered around this one guy that he helps go to get away. So, and let's just say it all comes together. Everything is connected, and it all comes together in the end. And he has to do something that he wouldn't normally do. And like that poster of him with the cigarette, like, he has that cigarette in his mouth almost the entire movie. Like, there are times where he doesn't have it, but 95% of the movie, that cigarette's on the side of his mouth, and he's talking with that thing in his mouth. So
And he lights matches off so many different surfaces, Stephen,
Yeah.
doesn't he? The way he does that, like off a window, off the floor, off whatever's handy.
That GIF I tweeted out before, that's just priceless, man. Because you forget, it's like there's this whole Rumpelstiltskin thing going on where he's a man at a time. So him striking.
You mean Winkle, not Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin weaved gold. Rip Van Winkle's the one that.
Rip Van Winkle. Yes. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
I was thinking about that. I was like, Rumpelstiltskin. No.
Yeah. I got it mixed up. But him striking a match like that, which is an old style match that you could strike it off of any surface. It's based on a friction tip, right? It's got gravel on the tip and it starts to match. All you got to do is get the heat going. And him striking it on plexiglass makes such a statement. Like, that's such a hippie, beatnik art take to have in your film as a characterization. Here's this guy stuck mentally in the 1940s, lighting a match off of plexiglass after going through an automatic door. You know, it's like, it's so good. It's so good. It's like, that's the whole movie right there. If you want to understand why the movie is weird, it's right there. That you got, it's right there. It's happening right there. He's a man at a time.
This is right near the beginning. He
Yep.
is. He's like, he walks in, he's doing an errand for the hippie chicks, the topless hippie girls, and he wants to get cat food as well. Because like Nerdporeal was saying, he wakes up and all you see is his cat. He's trying to feed his cat. And there's a crazy scene, hilarious scene where they don't have the brand of his cat food that he normally gets. So he buys a different brand and he's trying to hide it from his cat later on.
By putting it in the other jar.
Put it in the actual, in the empty can of the proper
In a lot of
brand.
Chandler
Oh my God.
novels, the detective character always has a young lady who's working for him, and she's always trying to get him out of the office and get some work in this damn place because there's bills to pay. So in the old novels, she's replaced in the film by the cat. Marlowe feels responsible to the cat's lifestyle and wants to really make the cat comfortable. And in the novels, it's usually a secretary or a girlfriend or a current love interest that's always trying to, in much the same way that in Roger Rabbit, it's the bartender and the detective. He's got a young lady that's not willing to marry him because he's still a schlub, but he's really a good guy, and he's not really a schlub. If he could just get his ass out of bed before 7 o'clock, you know, like that kind of relationship, like a young mom is kind of going on, and the cat does that job in the beginning.
That's
of this
so
film.
cool.
I had not that.
Nerdporeal, what did you think of this opening? The whole thing with the cat and him just showing him like getting up and, you know, was it in the middle of the night, wasn't it, or early morning?
I think it was in the middle of the night, but yeah, it was just. I was just like, I'm like, what is going on here? Where is this? What are they trying to? What's the point of this scene right here? And to follow up on what Stephen was, and to follow up on what Stephen was saying about, you know, the secretary, you know, TNG. I don't bring Star Trek into this, but TNG did episodes with Picard playing a private eye, Dixon Hill, and the episode, I think the first episode of this was called the Big Goodbye or something. And like you said, he has in that Hollowed novel or something, he has a secretary that is telling him to, you know, to get some work and to, you know, do stuff. And it's all the same. It's all the same thing.
It's brought to you by Chandler,
the bad guy, and
Chandler kind of invented that trope of that, you know, that because that's what it really looked like, I would imagine, in that day. I mean, imagine this is 20 years after leaving the West. We're into industrialization. There's automobiles, and we just fought 2 world wars. And this young lady is a typist, and she needed a job, and you know, it started out real well, but now this guy is just like too many bad cases, and he's really schlubbing around the office. And wear a hat. Why don't you shave that pretty face every once in a while? He drinks
too much. He smokes too much.
Exactly. Like a sister would do in an anime or something like that.
I got a
Guys,
question.
listen to this. Sorry to interrupt. No, Paul. This is from Siskel and Ebert. Yeah, this is the review back in the day, and Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars, praising Elliot Gould's good performance, particularly the virtuoso 10-minute stretch at the beginning of the movie when he goes out to buy food for his cat.
Yeah, and Siskel gave it, I think, even more, 3.5 stars.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And if there's anyone that's so when you think Siskel and Ebert, Siskel's the good cop usually, or not. I'm sorry, Ebert's the good cop. Siskel's the bad cop. Like Siskel.
Oh, okay.
Siskel will rip something apart. He will flat out say like this movie is trash. Like how a lot of YouTubers are now when they say, this movie or this show is trash. Well, that was Siskel. Ebert's the same. Ebert only does that with, 80s horror, 80s horror or shitty TV movies that have tropes that they've seen a million times. So, so if there's a reason why I'm pretty critical of new Star Trek, it's because all the tropes that they do in those is in all these modern. It's very modern. They do all these things in modern shows now, and we've seen it before, and it's just underwhelming. That's why, when me and Prophet are watching Picard season 3, we laugh at all the member berries and all the things that they've shown because we've seen this stuff before, and it's tiresome at this point. Yeah. And Siskel and Ebert were doing the same thing with movies that just kept repeating the same beats, or trying to cash in on the success of a better film.
Yep. Yeah. I was just on a panel Thursday, which was it. By the way, anytime you get a bunch of movies you're going to review or discuss, and the host and a bunch of other people on the panel outright dislike the movies you're about to talk about, that's a really rough show to be on. By the way, Roman of the Empire we just trashed Alien 3, 4, and Covenant and Prometheus, and just trashed the hell out of them. Nobody liked it. I was trying to stand up for it, but it was a losing battle. It was like I was being attacked by xenomorph hate. I guess I was weird, but
Alien 3 is just Alien 3 is a horrible follow up to Aliens. It just does such a disservice to Aliens that it's really hard to get on board with. I know there's a lot of people out there that like that movie. There's a lot of people that like David Fincher in general, but it was just I think it was mainly studio interference that really screwed the movie.
Yeah, and what I was trying to bring up was that that's what was going on. The mid 90s to like 99 was the beginning of massive studio interference. I mean, nobody was safe after that. Even somebody like Fincher had to struggle through it. There was just no getting around it. And you throw up your hands and go, how come Spielberg wasn't producing more movies? Because he was just like, I'm not going to suffer through studio interference. I'm Spielberg. And the studios were like, well, then I guess you're not producing any movies this year. That's how bad it must have gotten.
Seriously?
Behind the scenes.
No way. What? So no director was too big for that, Stephen? Even Spielberg?
Yeah, no. It was like, we have an audience. These projects cost hundreds of millions of dollars. We're not messing around here. Advertising is going through the roof as we speak. It was just, and it's that money issue. The money thing became, and it's like, well, then make cheaper movies. What do you want me to say? It's weird, and it just kept escalating the price, especially after Avatar happened, after Independence Day and Titanic, where they put $500 million into the project and they get $1 billion back. It's like after that, it's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about, silly artists. We know what we're talking about. So. Yeah, it's weird, and that was the franchise hell, where it was Rocky 35. That's what Michael J. That's what Back to the Future 3 was joking about, or Back to the Future 2 was joking about,
or Star Trek 12. So very, very tired of The Simpsons.
That's right? That's from The Simpsons, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, or Picard season 3.
Oh God!
Talk about so very.
I'd rather watch
tired.
Star Trek 12.
Well, they look tired. What is he, like 132 now? I mean, how old is John Luke?
He's too old to do it. He's lost his delivery, Stephen. He's lost his power.
96 or 97. He's 96 years old, or 95, 96. Picard is 96 years old
in the show.
Picard season 3 is born 2305. I know this because I have the Star Trek encyclopedia somewhere around here. Yeah, so he was like 60 years old when TNG starts. Like that's how old Picard is.
They should just roll him around like Hannibal Lecter with like a blue screen mask on his face, and then just dub everything ADR. Just roll him around and let his eyes wander around Joe Biden style. I mean, good grief, man! It's like
Stephen, with you talking about the studio interference, do you think, and Nerdporeal as well, in the 70s, did directors have a bit more freedom? With less interference, like to bring out something like this, which got criticised by a lot of current critics at the time, didn't it? You know, saying, "Oh, it's too lackadaisical, it's too lazy. It's like, what's it all about? It's not a proper noir." So, do you think they gave like directors more power back then?
I think the studio system was breaking down after the late 50s. Right before that, it was a very socialist system. You signed a contract, you came on board, you did as they told you, and they provided room and board into the studio system. Like, if you paid your dues, you got a house, you could marry, you could have your own. We'll pay the hospital bills, the whole 9 yards. That's what the studio system was like up until like the end of World War II, the early atomic age, and then that started to break down the contract system. And by 1960, it had completely broken apart. And the modern studio system was born during the 60s. And the more leeway they gave some of these directors, the better product they got. So by 1973, they had let the reins go full bore. And by the 1980s, they were seeing the birth of The Promise. Because every single movie that came out was just like, whoa, another hit. Oh my God, another home run?
Yeah, and the 70s was also a time when like a lot of the old guard were retiring. So, you know, studio executives, producers, you know, so a lot of newer, younger directors were coming into their own. You Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas.
Yeah, you
Steven
don't think
Spielberg
about it,
was
but
getting his start at this very same time too.
Kubrick was a young boy he was a young man in 1960. People forget that. By the time he did 2001, he was just coming to his craft. This was the early days.
I think Robert Altman wasn't that old either. I think he was only in his 30s, so he was pretty young too. So you're bringing a whole new generation. So not quite baby boomers yet. I think silent generation were coming into their own and during this time, and they were just bringing a new perspective into filmmaking. And I think at this point, like a lot of they were given a lot of, you know, not quite carte blanche, but they were given a lot of freedom to tackle certain themes and issues. That's why, and I mean that's why. I mean, you think about it, like Parallax View, for instance, such a dark ending for a film, like really dark. Like, you know, I don't like, you couldn't get away with that in the 80s, barely get away with that in the 80s, especially after that. I mean, this to me, this is a very 70s trope. 70s horror never ended well for anybody. It was a very cynical decade. You had Watergate and corruption,
very cynical, very
Vietnam,
dark.
and
the
energy
end of
crisis,
Quadrophenia, the end of Harold and Maude, the end of, I mean, and these are just beatnik dramas where you're not really sure if the hero survived the end of the movie. It's like, wait, did somebody just drive off a cliff? I mean, what just happened there? You know, it's
he was in the
strange.
zeitgeist at the time, wasn't it? It was part of the 70s, as you say, part of how everyone was feeling.
Dude.
You know, the government, the way things were going.
We had the Cold War. By 1969, we had two presidential assassinations in the U.S. I mean, it was a mess. People were really cynical.
Paranoia, a lot of paranoia was going on. So like, I mean, things got, so there was like, you know, dirty, and I also said this in my Dirty Harry video, like there was not a whole lot, there was not a whole lot of role models or things for kids to look up to. It was just a very dark and cynical, you know, part of entertainment. And you know what, it's and I enjoy it greatly. I just enjoy the dark, especially Dirty Harry, this dark stuff that these movies like touch upon. Like in this movie, even though this movie's, I mean, I think this movie's R-rated too, but not to the degree of Dirty Harry. But there's dark moments that really, you know, stand out here.
Nerdporeal is a genuinely smart guy, very good at putting things into perspective, says Nosferatu the Vampire. Wow, what's he doing? Giving compliments? And I don't think he did that, Nosferatu. Nerdporeal. Anyway, this scene here, guys, is a great scene. Real, again, the 70s style, sleazy style. This is is it the police jail, isn't it? And Elliot Gould had to spend a couple of nights there. No charges, of course, because that's how it worked back then. But just what they're wearing, the clothes, the background, it just looks so shoddy, doesn't it? It looks like it needs work, it needs paint, it needs fixing up. I love this level of detail back then, and this is probably just how it really looked back then. Steve, what do you reckon?
Oh no, guaranteed, because first of all, production wise, this is not an expensive film. So they didn't have time
No.
or money to do anything but get the cameras in that hallway and get the actors wearing whatever clothes they could fit into. And that was it. Just do the scene, walk down the hallway, move into the next shot. Okay. We're not touching the scene at all. That helmet sitting in the background up right there is because somebody was kicked off the set. You're not allowed to sit around here, and he accidentally left his helmet in the hallway. It's just awesome. Organic as hell, man. It's like this is what it really looks like. It still looks like this today, I'll bet. So yeah, it's a holding pen. It's probably a drunk tank level. This is where they put a bunch of the drunks for the night. People that really didn't have charges, they just need to sleep it off. Like that kind of deal.
Yeah. Scott, Nerdporeal, how about you? I know. Do you like this setting, this seedy 70s style setting?
Oh yeah, I love it. Like it just brings like it really just brings out the like I said earlier, it brings out like his agency right here. Like he's brought in, cops are harassing him. I don't think he gets hit at all. I don't remember if they hit him or anything, but they really rough him up. They push him around, and he just doesn't give in. Like they're questioning him. I like this shot right here where you've seen it from the jerk off lieutenant's perspective. Like he's very slow to anger. Marlowe is very slow to anger, but there's a point later where this lieutenant guy really pisses him off to the point. I think this was when was during there was a scene where a character walks into the ocean. That was I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that was a very powerful scene too. Like I couldn't keep my eyes off the screen. Yeah. With Sterling, sorry, I don't want to spoil it, but This is where I think these are the two cops that basically they harass him in his house, and they take him downtown because he won't cooperate, because they're asking about the guy. Like the guy killed his wife. Yeah. Shit.
That's how it opens, isn't it? His best friend, supposedly, or one of his good mates, is accused of murdering his wife, and then he takes him to Mexico, doesn't he, for a while to lay low, because he believes his best friend. And we won't spoil what actually happens, but very diverse cast there in the background. Wow, in the 70s. I thought that didn't happen.
Yeah, I thought Jennifer Lawrence was the first for the first her movie. Sorry.
Oh dear.
# Justice for Lawrence.
Quiet.
Very cool.
Oh, sorry, wrong guys, Lawrence.
We're coming up to an hour, so I wasn't going on for too long with this one. This is great. Is there anything you want to bring up we might have missed? Anything else to add to it?
You want to talk about that scene where they're trying to get, let's just say they're trying to get somebody walks into the sea, and you hear the tides, and there's no music. It's just zoom, zoom, and Elliot Gould and the woman are trying to run into the sea to retrieve this person. And I'm keeping my eyes on the screen. I'm trying to see if I can still track the person. Okay, I'll just say it's Sterling Hayden's character. See if they can rescue him. See if I can still see him on the screen. And, well, I was like, are they going to help? Is he like, because once again, this is the 70s. Like, are they going to be able to rescue him? Is this going to happen? Or is it gonna go dark? So it was just that was an edge. I was like this. I was on the edge of my seat watching that, and I really missed that. And like if you can get me interested to the point where I'm laser focused on something, that's a good fucking scene.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you guys something. Two actually bits of trivia. There was no scuba team in the water. There was no preparation. The director pointed the camera and just said, "Go into the ocean."
Oh shit!
In this scene, during one take, Elliot Gould almost drowned.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
And it was only because he was next to two other actors that they were able to get him out. There's no prep. The reason why you were palpitated is because it is 100% legit. If any trembling in their body as they enter the water is because as actors they're a little scared to enter the water.
Like the tides were rough. Like this was. I mean,
were.
they shot
You
it
could
at
die
a good
this way.
time.
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude. I'm like, dude. This is I mean, this is terrible, but great at the same time. Like, this is a great scene.
Nerdporeal, you know what?
And there's
I
no,
kept focusing on
no
as well.
dialogue. This is you're
No,
just
there isn't.
they're trying to rescue somebody, and it's heartbreaking.
The Doberman got me. I was focused on that as well as you say, as the guy who was walking off into the distance, into the sea, and you got the dog running around, and you got these two trying to save the guy, and it was really compelling, wasn't it? And as you say, absolutely no dialogue.
Nope.
Wow.
And it's one of those cases where less is more, and sometimes you know, a scene can work without any dialogue, and here I think right here. I think I forget what happened, but that he told that lieutenant to fuck off, or he really got pissed off. He actually said "fuck you" to the lieutenant guy, the police lieutenant or something. I forget exactly the situation, but
the big wave. Wow.
Yeah. So you have the
wave in the
Coast Guard
background,
there.
isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, there's some pretty famous spots on the Malibu coast that, you know, international surfers will come to.
Okay.
Yeah,
By the
that's
way,
all legitimate surfing out there.
By the way, did you know that they shot this at Robert Altman's home, Malibu home?
Yeah.
So this,
Pinching pennies, man, trying to save as many dollars as possible.
Yeah. So like those, yes, those where Sterling Hayden and the wife live. That's basically Robert Altman's
Right.
place. So
No
yeah.
way.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how they did it back in the day, man. It's like, you know, you wanted production values. Well, who's got a backyard that we can film in? Okay, because we need a whole house to film this movie, and then that's how you get it done. Is like that.
Yeah, you focus on the writing, and that's what makes a movie compelling. Writing and acting, dialogue, and then everything else should be secondary, like, you know, sets and special effects and everything to make it more believable. But you have to start with the writing, you have to start with the scenarios, you have to start with the dialogue, and of course the acting. The acting is very important. So I just wish modern entertainment, you know, still prioritize that. They don't. And, you know, entertainment, it's not going to age, and it's not going to age well, and it's going to suffer. People are going to be looking back to this. And part of the point of my channel is to show why earlier stuff is great. I'm not just going to point out why modern stuff is bad. I want to point out why older stuff, looking backwards, is good. Because I'm having, like with Star Trek, I have to constantly defend why I like Star Trek over the new stuff, and it's the same thing. And it sometimes it really picks my brain. I have to really, because sometimes I don't even fully understand it myself.
Right.
Why I like older stuff, but there's a way to do it. There like, it's not all subjective like people say. There's a way to craft stories. There's a way to write. There's a method to the madness, you know. And, you know, if you don't follow the rules, you're gonna get a lackluster story.
Yeah. That's the 50s was really, really trying to prove that almost. That's where we get the short story from. That's where we get the bare stage drama, where there is no set, right? It's everybody's dressed in the same costume. They're all wearing, you know, like full body skin leotards, and they're just doing a story with minimal props. And like they were trying to strip everything away to get to what was really important, right? This almost scientific way of analyzing theater. And yeah, it was the 50s. The 50s was doing that, and we got everything else afterwards. That's where even the cartoons were stripping away more and more and more detail to just get at the 2D super flatness that we got in the early 60s as well. It's the same thing. It's like you could tell a story with almost nothing. It's like, and the proof of that is a kid laying in bed with their eyes closed, listening to a story and falling asleep. It's like, that's the ultimate proof. You don't need no big action piece. We don't need no celebrity characters. Just tell us a friggin' story. And
Yeah, I mean, like watching the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, Chain of Command, Picard defeats Gul Madred, David Warner's character, the Cardassian, not by punching him in the face, but by just simply not breaking. And simply saying there are 4 lights, spoiler alert, and that told a compelling story. The performances, the dialogue, everything about it was brilliant, and I literally cheered after watching it for the millionth time on the other day to palate cleanse Picard. I know I'm going back to Star Trek, so I'm sorry this about the
It's
long
all right.
goodbye,
Well, speaking
the long
of
goodbye
cheering,
is another
Nerdporeal.
great story.
Nerdporeal, Steven. Speaking of cheering, I'm going to take a chance because we're near the end now. I want to share one more photo. If you look very carefully, you might see something nice on this photo. What did you both think of the hippie chicks? His neighbours, Philip Marlowe's neighbours, and the way you keep seeing them through other characters' eyes. Can't really see. This is a safe photo. You can't see much. It should be okay.
Yoga. They were doing their yoga.
It's yoga.
They didn't.
They're sweet. They're just they're just being girls. They're just they're frolicking.
They're pretty chill. They're pretty chill. I think I definitely would get along with them. Like, 'cause I'm pretty chill too. Just say
I'm chill too.
Just talk. Just talking and
Look how flexible she is. Look at that leg. Unbelievable. Must be a dancer.
I bet you if you scrub through the whole film, you could probably see whenever that light is red, you shouldn't approach the house, and whenever it's green, you should.
That's a great point, Steven.
She's not wearing any. She's not wearing anything over there.
Hey! Put those sunglasses.
She is. She is. We're safe. As you stop sharing quickly. Ooh. But yeah.
What I say? What is going on in there?
Did you like my They Live thing right here?
Buy, consume, obey.
Right.
Okay, guys. Should we wrap things up? Yeah. So, is this a recommend for anyone who hasn't seen this movie?
Absolutely.
Is this a recommend? Okay.
If this is a private eye film. This is not an action film. This is a private eye film. To me, it all comes together. It's pretty tight in its script. You would think it's going all over the place, but it actually isn't. And great performances. Elliot Gould, Sterling Hayden. Sterling Hayden was freaking drunk and high throughout the entire movie, from what I read. And the guy that plays Augustine. And hey, you get to see Arnold in underwear. Nice. Yeah.
You do. You see Arnold's topless. You see quite a few ladies topless too.
And
Steven?
Also a recommend. And for a lot of the same reasons. First of all, Nerdporeal, I'm really, really happy that you enjoyed it as a contemporary viewer, looking at it backwards from present day. I saw it. I grew up with films like this. But anybody, while you were watching and you saw an actor that you only know in their older form, going back to these old movies and seeing them in their younger bodies is just a giggle and a half, man. I mean, there's so many great performances in this thing. The older movies. It's a legit part of the late 70s, the early 70s detective stories. It's Hollywood at its very best, doing its driest takes on some really cool stuff. This is The Godfather. This is, Serpico. This is,
And there's a lot of movies from this era that I still have yet to see. Like, there's so many. Like, I haven't even scratched the bottom of the barrel yet. So.
Great
That's
stuff.
good. That's exciting to have all those to come, isn't it, Paul and Stephen? Because there are, and I need to go back and revisit. You talking about Chinatown, you talking about Dirty Harry, Magnum Force. You've made me want to go back and watch all of those now. But that's what's so great about these review streams.
If you ever talk Dirty Harry, I might know somebody who knows quite a bit about that movie. So.
Yeah.
I won't say who.
Yeah. So fantastic performance by Elliot Gould. Yeah, despite some of the criticism he got at the time. Fantastic.
Yeah. He was almost out of a career. This movie somehow catapulted him and allowed him to work a lot in the 70s because they just thought he was a goofball. They thought he was just a beatnik goofball. And then he did this, and he showed himself to be a legit actor. So this was a gamble for him. His wife or girlfriend at the time was like, Elliot, you need to do it. You may be really uncomfortable trying to play a detective in a hard-boiled novel, but you need the work and take the risk. You never know what's going to happen. And he did it. He rolled the dice and it worked out. So without this, there wouldn't even be Elliott Gould and Friends.
Yeah, that's true. And you kind of wonder if he's a lot like his Trapper John character, or what was it, Bob Carroll, Ted and Alice type of role he was in too?
It's hard to tell. Watching him in modern interviews, I would say he's probably more the gentler side. He's not as cool and charismatic as he is in MASH. He's not the same. Yeah, he's the other side. Like Harrison Ford is more of a domestic than he is Harrison Ford in the movies.
He's not as cool and charismatic as Nerdporeal Lifeform with his sunglasses on, looking amazing. And then here's his link as well. I'll drop your links later on, guys. Sorry, they're not in the description, but they will be in the description. So
cool.
That's it. That's it.
Basically. Did I tell you why I have these where I got these sunglasses?
No, go for it.
Well, you guys know Pips, right? Well, I met Pips.
Yeah.
And Pips always wears sunglasses. So me and him went shooting. We went to a shooting range, and I bought these sunglasses. So that's why I got them. So I channeled my theory.
Are you saying you should only shoot wearing sunglasses?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you should wear eye protection in general, but so I was just channeling my dirty Harry. Do you feel lucky? Do you, punk?
Edgy, and he's all out of bubblegum, folks.
Man's gotta know.
Are you an assassin? I'm a soldier. You're an errand boy.
You're a soldier, Nerdporeal. You're a soldier.
Marlon Brando he was so fat. That's why they had the lighting like that.
That's why they had him hidden almost. Yeah. Okay, Stephen. So before we finish, are you going to be on any shows coming up this weekend or next week?
I am, and I don't know if he's actually still in the chat right now, but tomorrow we're going to be reviewing The Rocketeer, Popcorn Talk number 15. We're going to be doing The Rocketeer. That's Jacobs.
Me too. I'll be there.
Jacob Ironside. That's 6:30 p.m. On the West Coast, which is 9:30 East Coast, U.S.
Okay, cool. After I do a stream, hopefully with Mr. Nerdporeal, we're going to be covering Star Trek, the original series. Is it Balance of Terror? Is that right, Nerdporeal?
Yep. That's the Romulan theme. Yep. So we're talking about Balance of Terror. That was the very first episode featuring the Romulans, and the first time
Mark
that
Leonard's in there.
Mark Leonard. So before he played Sarek, he played the Romulan commander.
I didn't even know that until I rewatched it. Before he was Sarek, he was a Romulan.
It was and what's funny was I rented. So I owned Journey to Babel on VHS, and I rented Charlie X, which is episode 8, and episode 9 was Balance of Terror. So the next voyage, at the end of watching the 80s VHS of Charlie X, shows the television preview of Balance of Terror. I'm like, wait a minute, Sarek's a bad guy in this? What's going on here? Why are they fighting him? He's got pointed ears. It's Mark Leonard. I swear I thought that was Sarek, but then I finally saw Balance of Terror on TV.
Me too.
And I recorded the episode, and it was he played a totally different character, and this was before his character here was so memorable and so brilliant, and I think this what cements Mark Leonard as an all-time legend. It's a shame he's no longer with us. But
was this the first appearance of Romulans in Star Trek? Was it the first time?
Yep, it was his first appearance in Star Trek, and it was the first appearance of Romulans. So
look at that episode wearing Steven. I just love
important. Yeah, this is a very important episode.
So simple,
to the franchise.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love the lighting, the colors.
One could speculate that the reason why the Vulcans and the Romulans were connected as genetically as a shoot-off, an offshoot species from each other, is probably because of the casting right here, because they wanted this actor to be Spock's father as well.
Oh yeah.
So they needed to introduce. They may have retconned the Romulans and the Vulcans because of that.
And yeah, I'll be honest. I can't wait to research the making of this episode before Great Stream tomorrow, because I really want to know why they went with the decision to make the Romulans look just like Vulcans, and where that idea came from. I mean, was it just to create a conflict between Styles and Spock and everything, or was there more to it? I'm curious what the writer of this episode thought, or whether or not or maybe this was a rewrite from Gene Roddenberry idea. So I can't wait to find out. And but yeah, this is a classic episode. If you haven't watched Balance of Terror, it's a very important episode. And the gall of New Trek and Strange New Worlds to retcon this episode in their season 1 finale, I cannot support Strange New Worlds as a result. And plus, the character of Lon is so unlikable and is denigrating to, Ethan Peck Spock, that I can't get into. I just can't get into. It's just another crappy New Trek and everything. So, but I'm once again,
Strange
if you're gonna retcon the original
Brandon.
series, I'm not going to support you.
Dude,
I'm not interested in retcons. You're not retcon. I'm not choosing Strange New Worlds over the original series. Sorry.
it's impossible to not see that this is nothing more than that 30% regulation nonsense. It's like they're yanking the carpet out from underneath these IPs. They're taking these IPs over by doing these new episodes. Why not? I mean, it's piracy at its highest, and they've got the regulations on their side because they've got all the keys in their pocket. So, you want to talk about jangling keys. They're the janitor. They got one of those gigantic keychains of things to jangle in front of us, and they own every one of them. So,
You said Pavlovian.
Indeed.
Mm.
Indeed.
Oh, Monkey Jeebus
why
said
they had to make
knock
the
at cabin
Enterprise.
door on Peacock.
The Enterprise looks like it's upside down. I'm sorry. Every time I see the image of the new Enterprise or whatever the heck that thing is with the nacelles pointing down, I'm like, the entire thing is upside down. You inverted the whole spaceship. It's like, what's going on, man?
It's so dark. Like you could see the Enterprise. It's like, I'm like the ship up at least. I mean, that's one thing Picard at least got right.
How much better is this with models and photographs? Look at that. This is from the original series. This is just from the introduction.
It's
I
so good.
love
I think
this.
this
to
is the
me
remaster.
is so much better.
Yeah, this
That's
is the
the
remaster. The
CG.
planet was much simpler
So much
in
better.
the background. But yeah.
Oh,
But
was it?
I love this remaster though. Like I'm on board with it. But I do like the old. I'm glad they didn't toss the old stuff aside.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Unlike a certain Star Wars, George Lucas, excuse me, and yeah, I mean the fact is you can see ships that you couldn't see in the earlier versions. Like you can see the Gorn ship now. They show the Klingon ships in Errand of Mercy, so as they're being attacked, and like you can there's more stuff to see that they couldn't afford back then. Like when you saw a ship in the original series, it was impactful. That means they had a budget. That means they could build stuff for that episode. So when you see like the Botany Bay in Space Seed, or the Fisarius and the Corbomite maneuver, or the Bird of Prey and Balance of Terror, like stuff like that, it's very impactful.
It is. It's awesome. Okay, so yes, so Nerdporeal, I know hopefully you're going to be on my channel tomorrow talking Balance of Terror. And what else have you got coming up this weekend or next week on YouTube?
I mean, I just saw John Wick 4. Maybe I might do a stream or a video talking about that. So I watched it today. John Wick 4 did not disappoint. Like, in my opinion, John Wick 4 is better than the Bourne movies and the Daniel Craig Bond movies. Beautiful cinematography, and you could see the stunts and the fights. They don't just cut. Yeah, it's like. I mean, the only thing that I'll say that some of the fights choreography gets repetitive. Like you see some of the same moves happen over and over again. But that's something that's something I can easily forgive, because these are long action set pieces. But this last movie was just. I'm like if it's gonna be a John Wick, it's got to be brutal, and this movie definitely delivers in how brutal it can get.
Good deal.
And it's the final film. I thought they were gonna make a fifth movie, but this is the final film.
I kind of fell out of love with it because of the second movie, and especially the third. I just thought it just got boring. It was just too much of the same thing. But I've heard this is going to be great. Sorry, this is great. I
like the world building, and especially the third movie. He just keeps getting knocked into glass. Like you think Prophet, you thought Prophet in the Peripheral. But you see John Wick 3 Parabellum, and he's getting knocked into glass sheets like over and over again. He's getting hit by cars. He in this movie, I'm just gonna say he jumps out of a window, hits a beam or hits the side of a car, lands on the ground. This is like 4 or 5 or 6 stories up. He just gets up. And
he should have broken legs, he's like, broken knees.
To go up a bunch of stairs to get to a place by sunrise. Without going into spoilers, or things are gonna, or shit's gonna go south if he doesn't do that. So it's so ridiculous. The stakes are so high. I thought it was a pretty good ending, and I really enjoyed it. It was it's a shame that another series of stuff that I like is ending. And there's just not, like I said, there's just not much for me to look forward to.
I've only got one question, Nerdporeal. Are there any ninjas in the movie? And are the action scenes as good as this one?
Let's just say, no. I'll say this. There's a big fight in Japan. At the Japan,
awesome.
Like how like New York has their own hotel. Well, Japan, he goes to the Japan one, and let's just say the high table. Let's just say the hotel staff help John Wick, and there's lots of samurais. There's swords and guns and and guns, and it's so.
I've got to wait till September before it comes out in Japan. Crazy, right?
There's a shot of John Wick in front of a cherry blossom tree in Japan, and just like Keanu Reeves, it's just like it's some of the best. It's so the cinematography is so great. Like I'm getting classic Japanese cinema vibes. I got some like Snowblood vibes. I got like it was awesome. It makes me want to visit. I mean, I want to visit Japan now. I want to visit you guys in Japan now. Like that's I think that might be my next Nerdporeal visit. I'm going to be, because I went East Coast. I want to go to Japan.
See, Hollywood, that's the way you get it done, okay? Because I don't remember anybody after Anakin Skywalker stood on the balcony with Amidala. And they talked about sand. I don't remember anybody looking at that scene going, I really want to visit Italy. Look how beautiful Italy is.
Filmed.
Meanwhile, that's where they filmed it. They filmed it in a palace in Italy. But it's like, John Wick gets it done, man. It's like, this is how you do troping. Him standing in front of a cherry blossom tree with like all the cherry blossoms flying around in the wind. This is how you get it done, people, okay? Just give us what we want. Don't make me hurt you, okay?
Yeah, like this movie, like you had freaking Clancy Brown in the movie. He was in the movie. You had a lot of, and Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen was so great in this movie.
He's supposed to be amazing. I've heard that.
I mean, he plays a similar role like he did in Rogue One, blind and everything. But I mean, you're thinking like. It got to the point where so Donnie Yen starts off, or I'm not going to say this, but like I was rooting for Donnie Yen. I was rooting for like these characters who were trying to kill John Wick and began like I was invested enough that I cared about them. And if a movie can get me to care about characters and everything, then to me it's a good movie. I mean, it might not be for everybody, but like to me, like John Wick, the first movie was so good it earned me watching the second one, and I liked the second one. The second one and the third one really built on the world. So many organizations, so many types of things. I love the dialogue. Are you working, John? Yeah, I'm working. And then they're like, okay, and then they start fighting. I love that.
It seems shameless to somebody who doesn't understand what they're actually trying to pull off, but Wick turning to the concierge and going, guns. Lots of guns. He's just like, I know it's from the Matrix, baby, and I don't care, okay? I'm going to repeat the line anyway. Or it's like, you know what? Come on, join me. Go get some secondary, bunch of popcorn. We're going this way. More guns, please. Every single action set piece was dynamic, beautiful, poetic, and well executed. Every single time, man. That mirror, that art gallery of mirrors. Where the hell is the camera? I mean, seriously, dude, where's the freaking camera, man? If you haven't watched that scene, thinking
that reminds me of Enter the Dragon. Bruce Lee.
Rewatch the damn scene. Where's the camera?
Mirror scenes at the end. Oh my god.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Brilliant. Oh,
awesome one. No way. He was in Japan as a child. We went to the Imperial Palace, but the visitor part was closed. I've never been to the Imperial Palace, but I have been to Tokyo. And it's cherry blossom season, Stephen, Nerdporeal. The sakura is starting to open. Well, it is kind of open now, but it's also been very windy, so it's blowing all over the place.
It's March.
Yes, it is. Speaking of Clancy Brown, that's a good clip to finish on before I drop the closer. Here we go. Here he is, the legendary Clancy Brown, a lot younger here.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Gotta love him. Okay, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your support. Stephen, Nerdporeal, thank you for coming on and talking about The Long Goodbye, a really good Robert Altman version of Raymond Chandler's pulp noir novel from the 50s, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's you can watch it for free. Just search if you have a Roku or a device that links it. It's for free. I watched it for free. So.
Yep, and the audiobook is on YouTube as well, also for free. Yeah, thank you, chat, for coming down. Hope you guys had as good of a time as we did. Nerdporeal.
Yeah.
Glad you liked it. Great. Always a pleasure. Always.
Dempsey, if you're still there, mate, I've got one thing to say for you. To you, tomato.